Hey, Peter, what's going on there? Oh, hey, Joe. Just checking out that Bob Culture podcast they got over there on iTunes. Now get out of here, you big stupid.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to a very special live edition of the Bob Culture Podcast. Of course, we're featured here on the Podcast Dummies Network on Twitch. Make sure you guys follow along. Of course, I am here with the man, the myth, the legend, special co-host, Blacktooth Grin frontman, and the biggest podcast dummy I've ever met. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Trevor Martin. Trevor, what's up, bro?
I don't know if that's a compliment or not, but I'm going to take it. But how's everyone doing?
No, Trevor's having us. He's got a great setup here. And Trevor, you know, we're on Facebook Live too, but tell us where everyone can move on over and find you so they can see all of us.
www.twitch.tv/podcastdummies.
Yeah, get over there now because we're going to switch off the Facebook Live in a little bit. But let's talk about the main event. You know, Trevor's like a nice little appetizer over here. We got the main event. No offense, bro. We're gonna.
It's your show.
I
Put everything under your name.
No, Trevor did a great. Trevor did a great job setting everything up. Of course, I'm stoked to be sitting here, honestly, with legends of the local band scene. Honestly, winners of the 2007 legends. Winners of the 2007 Break Contest, playing the Bamboozle main stage 2007, 2008, sharing the stage and touring with the likes of Muse, Linkin Park, My Chemical Romance, Snoop Dogg, among many others. These guys have played Giant Stadium, I think South by Southwest, if I recall. Yep. You guys have even been to Brazil. Ladies and gentlemen, of course, we have Jeff Wallace and Spags. You guys all know him as End of an Era. Guys, welcome. How are you?
Man?
What's
Happy
up?
World. I also like that in the first 30 seconds you managed to insult Trevor twice.
Yeah, no,
which is awesome.
Perfect. Yeah,
and then call us legends. So I feel great.
Yeah, seriously.
That was awesome.
That was like the greatest intro of all time.
It was great. I worked.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah.
No,
Makes me feel good about it.
You guys are great, and honestly, like Trevor, I don't know if you feel the same way. But
I hate these guys.
Well,
they're the worst.
We have lots of stories for later. We'll get there.
Listen, we're used to intros that go something like, I'm not quite sure who these guys are or what they're doing on my stage.
Yeah.
But listen, we're dope.
No, dude. Hey, man, I've been on the other side of the interviews too. Like, how do you say your band name? But I get it, man. But I'm stoked to finally have you guys here. I can speak for myself. I don't know if I can speak for Trevor. I don't think Vection would be where it is today without you guys including us on shows and having us at your Halloween shows. So we really do appreciate that. You guys are great to us. No, I know it's getting emotional. I didn't bring tissues, nice. but no, thank you guys.
That means more to me than all the stuff you said in the intro.
Oh, there you go. No, seriously.
We talked about this before you guys got in here. You have your Facebook memories from time to time that pop up, and I'm pretty sure the three of our bands have played a show every Halloween, like for 7 or 8 years straight.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it was true. It was tradition. It was great.
I don't know that I could put a number on how many shows I've played with both bands, with both Vection and Blacktooth Grin.
Probably. That's true.
A ton. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, especially us and you guys. I mean, we must have played 25, 30 shows together,
at least,
minimum.
And in an abbreviated period of time. I mean, we were just talking before the show started about how Trevor's been around almost since day one of End of an Era. I mean, we've been playing with them since the Jersey Shows days.
Yeah. This is
the beginning of the era.
Before Suicide City days, before you guys went to Brazil and all that stuff.
We went through a lot of stages, huh?
I guess so, yeah. That's what happens when you're around for like 12 years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Legends.
Wait, so that's the question. How long have you guys been around now from start to finish? Not finish, but
so
present.
So I started with one of the other original members in 2005. We would, neither of us were like into frats or played sports or anything. So like we all got out of class and we got together and made some of this music. So that started in 2005, I'd say. So
so
that would put us at
13 years now.
Yeah.
With some
11
pauses in there.
Yeah,
but 13 years. It's crazy.
Yeah, so I know we were 2006, so you guys were only a year ahead of us then, technically.
Yeah, but we didn't hit really any sort of serious stride until probably 2006, 2007 anyway.
Yeah.
So, like, you know how that is. Like, it's almost like being a baby, where, like, the first year of your life, you don't really do a whole lot anyway. So that was kind of us. It was like, we were still trying to figure out how to be a band beyond just, like, having a handful of songs and, like, dressing the same. That was pretty much all we had
Exactly.
in the very beginning. But
So you guys have this big Halloween show coming up. I heard you have some great supporting bands. We'll talk about that later. But what made you guys want to do the Halloween show again, and what made you guys decide to kind of, rejoin and saddle on up for another show?
well, that is a interesting question because we're not really sure why.
Yeah. So,
I
so
miss
what
him.
I'll say is the short story is Spags and I were drunk and bored one night on opposite sides of the state texting each other, and he goes, "We should do a show," and I go, "I'm in."
Yeah.
That's the short story.
Wow, that's
But the long
Halloween,
version.
yeah, Halloween has always been kind of an end of an era tradition. as
Night
you
of the
guys
Walking
are aware.
Dead.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I mean, we've done that. Geez, at least 5 or 6 times.
Yeah.
6, maybe 7.
But,
years in a
but one
row,
of the
so.
one of the things we always talked about, like 2 years ago, kind of when we said we're going to put this down, put this aside, we said, we're not going to say it's the end, because one of the things we always wanted to do was kind of bring back some of the legacy of our history and bring back some of our like favorite members, our brothers, people that moved on with their lives, but like still had such an incredible impact on our careers and our history, and we really wanted to do that. So this was an opportunity where we were able to.
It's weird because it seems like, especially, it's really any band, from start to finish, it's really hard to keep the same band members. And
Yeah,
I know
absolutely.
I've gone
We've
through
all
it.
been through it.
Yeah,
all
we've
of
all
us,
been
yeah.
through it. I
Any
mean-
band I've ever been in.
Yeah, I mean, and it's I've been through 3 drummers. When
drummers.
and they're the worst. You guys are the absolute
worst.
worst. The only worst people are singers. And what it is that it's. I've always kind of looked at it as a starting fresh and starting over point. Like we really, we're gonna have a new member join us at this show at Halloween, and we're only continuing 2 songs from the last incarnation, and we're not even bothered learning the other ones, and we're not even stuff that we never finished recording. It's done. We're starting fresh. So every time that you guys switched, is that kind of how you thought about it, or did you? I know some songs you guys had you just did in different ways.
Our thing was kind of weird because we were always very concerned with not losing momentum on stuff, because it's kind of like my thing really is that I'm always looking towards the next thing. So whenever we'd have an unfortunate member drop out or whatever, I was always like, okay, we got to pull someone in quick and we're going to learn
Let's
this stuff
keep going.
and keep going.
Keep going,
So
yeah.
almost like the train doesn't stop.
Yeah.
And so I mean, we definitely didn't really turn away from any of the material, but there is some stuff over the years that kind of dropped off.
Just dropped
that
off,
we didn't have newer people learn, just because as time went on, we're only playing a handful of songs a night anyway. So
Yeah, and our fan base changed. Like the face of the crowd changed so much over the years. The songs that people knew and latched onto were so different over the years. We wanted to make sure that it was always still engaging and people were really reacting. Because that was always the fun of it, was getting that reaction, that passion in the crowd. So
Yeah, totally.
that's what it's about.
It's going to be a good show. And real quick, just following up on the family reunion theme, are we going to see a lot of old members? Or you don't have to tell us, is this a reunion of sorts, or what's
it's
going
definitely.
on?
So what we did a couple years ago, we played a show in 2016 where our old bass player Justin Mazik came up on stage and played 2 songs, and it kind of put the idea in our heads oh, that would be kind of cool to do that and invite literally everyone else. So that's kind of what we did. Is we invited we invited most members back to come up and be involved in some sort of capacity. And what I didn't realize is that everybody would really jump in and run with it. So we have a lot of old faces playing a lot more songs than you would think. And
That's awesome.
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
so
what you want.
exactly. So we're
exactly.
able to kind of go through the catalog and pick out kind of the stuff that everybody always liked, and play it with the original members that recorded them.
That recorded
Yeah.
those pieces. Yeah.
I'd like to give a shout out to who I can only assume is Justin, that says "End of an Era sucks" in the chat right now, just because it's
Probably,
J
yeah.
Matt. So, hey,
And I just gave you a shout out.
yeah,
you
he just
motherfucker.
did.
You're also
One.
a part of it. Come on.
But so we've seen you've done a couple teaser photos and everything too on the internet. Is that everyone that's going to be playing along with you guys, or are there some people who haven't shown up to practice yet?
You're at liberty to say.
Oh my.
So we think so.
Okay.
We put out some invitations, and I think a few people that really wanted to be a part of it aren't able to be because of life circumstances. So kind of sucks because, but you know what, we still appreciate what they did for the band and who they were with it, and we're hopefully they're able to at least come out and have a great night with us. That's the hope.
Very cool. I think now's a good time. I want to kind of throw it back to you guys. We all know this one, Giving In Again. Lots of good memories of seeing you guys play this one live a lot. You guys sent me the song. I was like, I love this one. I remember Spags telling me some really funny stories about filming the music video for this one.
Oh God.
We'll cue it up in just a second. But I guess what is that song about, and where did it all start? Where did that come from?
Well, the song is interesting because it's one of those things that's definitely open to interpretation, and people could put their own kind of spin.
Yeah, I have some ideas.
Spin on the lyrics. For us, and I don't necessarily want to speak for you.
Speak for me.
But the idea was it's because it sounds like it could be about whether it's drugs or alcohol or
temptation.
Yeah, it's any sort of temptation. But for us, the biggest temptation that we ever had was the band itself.
Exactly.
So it's like there were a lot of times where it was a struggle to continue with it, and we would always get kind of like, oh man, like, are we still going to do this? Like,
what are we doing?
Some members leave and like, oh, God, should we just stop or whatever? But it was always something that kind of just pulled us back in. And we had a hard time giving it up, as exampled by
like this show, exactly.
It's the perfect segue.
That's
man. Everything came full circle.
So, I mean,
this is great.
That's the truth. I hate explaining songs because I like when people put their own spin on it. But
that's where it came from.
No, it's perfect.
Yeah.
We ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Little Giving In Again on the Bob Culture Podcast on the Podcast Dummies Network, of course, by my good friends Ed and Vanera.
All right, everyone. Welcome back.
Back in action. That was Giving In Again, of course, by my good friends, End of an Era. I'm glad just finally to be hanging out with you guys. I've been wanting to have you guys on the show forever. It's perfect. It's right before Halloween.
Yeah.
I'm stoked.
And I'm glad that I'm going to fire our engineer because apparently we're having some audio issues, but we appreciate everyone sticking around.
It's great. No, Trevor doing a great job. We appreciate you having us. Look at this
It's always
beautiful
something.
setup.
That's what I love.
Yeah,
It gets tested constantly.
It is.
And we do as much as we can buying new equipment, and there's always something happening. So that's why I get
I blame myself.
I like this drummer
usually-
section we got going on.
That's
over
probably
here.
the top right quadrant is
Yeah.
the best quadrant.
I concur. I
Yeah.
concur. Wanted to talk a little bit about the writing process in terms of lyrics and stuff like that. I interview a lot of bands. Some people base it on real life experience. I have some people that like base it on a fantasy world or sci-fi and stuff like that. Where does if you want to share with us, where does your like writing style come from? Is it real life experience or anything like that?
So the way the songs have been written has really changed over the years. Like
True.
Who's been involved in things. I've written some songs solo. Spags has written some songs solo. Others have been like straight collaborations with the whole band. It's been kind of cool. What we've always tried to do is take our experiences that we've had in life as a band and kind of like look at people around us and the world around us and kind of like personify that. So we try to tell the story of the world around us from the point of view of a person. So we try to we kind of make the band the person onlooking to the world and kind of like...
That's interesting. That's cool.
So a lot of it can get really personal. I think more recently, the Fetish album, I think, was one of the most personal
I thought that when he said most recently, I thought there was like a hint there. Like
no. I think the
thought that
Fetish
was
album was like one of the most personal ones. But that was actually a cool one where we worked with a producer. I got to shout out Greg down in Florida, and he was like a fifth writer with us, because at that time we were a 4-piece and we were always used to kind of having that tiebreaker. And so we worked with this guy Greg Shields, who's in a band Cashed Out. They're an awesome reggae band if you want to check them out. And that was cool, just taking a whole third party guy we randomly met a couple years ago's point of view and mashing it up with us. So
it's good to have
neat.
a good producer too.
Yeah,
you gotta find someone that kind of knows you. Like we're working with someone right now who's recording us and really wants to capture our live sound. So that's super important.
Well, especially when somebody who wants to be hands-on in the process too.
Yeah.
Which a lot of bands don't care for. A lot of bands just kind of want to be autonomous and just have somebody tweak sounds or whatever. But we really were looking for someone to kind of jump in, kind of like what he said, and be almost like the fifth voice.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's really rad. Now, you guys, you said Spags had a little hand, you had a hand in writing lyrics as well.
Yeah.
You said all you guys kind of pitched in. That's really rad. Was this kind of like when you guys, we were kind of talking about the End of an Era house, and there were some funny stories and stuff coming out of that. But is that when you guys, do you guys just all sit down and start writing or talking about life experience, or are you just on your own and met up? Or?
There's no strict way that we ever did anything. It kind of varies song to song, and like he said, some stuff is done by committee. Other stuff is oh, hey, here's this idea, and then he liked it. So it worked,
A lot of it happened just in the studio. So
yeah,
oh, that's cool.
I mean, we went from being in the back room of my parents' house writing songs to having 2 studios in Toms River on either end, and we lived like assholes basically, and we would write continuously there. I mean, in that situation when we had the 2 studios, I mean, we were writing almost 10 hours a day separately, all the time. We had so much material at the time. Most of it was awful, but
doesn't mean good.
But that's what we were doing then, and then we moved into that house, and that was another situation to be terrible people. It was leave
it at that.
Yeah.
A lot of side eyes on that.
Yeah.
Jeez. All right.
How about
inside jokes?
A lot of inside jokes.
Yeah, we'll get into that stuff later. How about structuring the songs and stuff? Was it someone came in with a riff, we laid, and then we started playing the drums, or was it again all different ways, like how the lyrics came about?
I feel like a lot of it was keyboard based in the beginning.
Oh, really? That's interesting.
Yeah. A lot of it started with some of the electronics or simple piano chords, and then everybody kind of put their feeling on top of it.
Even that, there wasn't really a strict process. There was some times where we would just kind of be in a room, because I'm a weird musician personally. Jamming I have no interest in it. So the concept of like getting in a room and like being like, hey, what do you guys got? I would rather kill myself than do that. So like I like having ideas.
Structure.
Yeah, not necessarily structure, but people bringing in ideas and then kind of almost like producing the song in the room. As opposed to being like, oh, what do you got?
Yeah.
Like, oh, you know what I mean?
I get what you're
That's
saying.
like, so a lot of the stuff that we did was either like that. For kind of like the newer stuff, a lot of the stuff was kind of bouncing stuff off each other, almost like via email sometimes.
Yeah. You were like
Did a lot of
sending
stuff.
like different lines back and forth, and he'd be like, "That was great. I'm going to change it all," and then I would get it back. And
I know what you mean. Oh, that's funny. Not to ask the cliche questions, but I gotta get one or two in
go
here.
for it.
You guys are used to it.
Yeah.
Your influences personally, like Spags, any drumming influences or non-drumming influences?
Well, you, number one, first and foremost. No, well, you know, I don't know.
I'm influenced by you right now.
Oh,
I'm just
thank
letting
you.
you know.
Please.
I'm also, like I said, I'm not like the typical music. Like I don't really care so much about what other people are doing. Really, I had influences when I first started. Like I was really, really into. For those that have never seen me play before or whatever, I was really into drummers that performed live flashily.
I was going to say, no, I'm with you.
So you want to be like Tommy Lee upside down going on a roller coaster.
Yeah, kind of. Morgan Rose from Seven Dust was like an early big-time influence of mine.
drummer from Nonpoint.
Rob Rivera was another one where like... Because he kind of looked like me a little bit too, so I was like, oh, I could do that. Guys like that were really cool. Like guys who are really seriously like... You know, groovy, not necessarily flashy playing, but kind of like pick their spots to do some cool stuff and like really brought the house down live. Those are kind of my guys.
And we can see that in your playing. You love the visuals and stuff like that. You got some signature moves that we always love.
It makes people forget that I can't play.
Oh, stop. No, it's part of the show, dude. We love it, man. It's signature. How about you, Jeff? Any like singers or non-singers? Anyone that inspires you or been influences?
I've always been inspired by vocalists that kind of had non-traditional sounds. I'm not really a well-trained singer, even though I know the mechanics. I don't ever think that I have a normal, nice voice. So guys like Chris Cornell, Chester, like Nine Inch Nails obviously was a huge influence, but like he had sometimes a smoother voice. But like anybody that had that gritty, kind of like out of control voice that would like crack and break sometimes, and nobody cared. Then 30 Seconds to Mars. I mean, those guys that just have that kind of like out of control, off the hook voices. I always kind of appreciated that because I never really knew what this was going to do for me. You know, it's kind of different every day, and you know.
Were you always a singer, or were you a guitar player first? Because I know you do both.
I was. I started on piano,
okay,
then guitar, and so I played guitar for the most part, and then I became a singer mostly because I needed to.
Okay.
You know, like I couldn't find anybody else that could sing the part, so I would like go in and lay it down, and everyone would be like, "All right, well, you're doing that now."
Yeah.
So it's kind of how that happened.
That's your part of the song. Actually, it's just your song now.
Yeah.
That's what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
Piano's a good first instrument, by the way. That's like, you know, everything's just laid out for you. That's really cool.
Oh yeah, I wish.
Good answers.
I wish that was my first instrument. Actually, think about that all the time.
Yeah, I did it backwards. I started singing poorly first, and then trying to learn instruments backwards. So,
however, I will say you said I had good answers, but like the two main guys are dead, so I don't know if it's such a great. I don't know if it's such a great
I thought
answer.
immediately, but have you seen both of them?
What? Yeah.
Have you seen both of them live?
Recently?
Me too. Oh, Trevor. Not cool.
I had to
Within
break
the
it up
last calendar year.
Figured I'd break it up a little bit. Sorry.
Oh man.
Oh.
Moving on.
They're dead.
Oh.
They're dead.
They're dead.
Oof. Do you guys have silly question? But musician, do you guys? I know a lot of bands. I talk to a lot of local bands. Do you guys have any pre-show rituals or anything like that? You know,
God, did we?
Yeah.
Oh, for real?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm excited.
I mean, a lot of them involved getting drunk.
Yeah.
That was one real serious pre-show ritual.
So
unfortunately,
earlier on in our careers, I'll call it, we had actual tradition where we would like burn cork. And we would mash coffee grinds, and we would like take turns smashing it all over each other.
Oh,
We would throw flour and cornstarch at each other. Like venues actually used to get pretty pissed off about that.
Yeah.
It's interesting that you bring it up because someone in the chat right now is like, I remember seeing End of an Era at Six Flags in 2009. And that's Mars Echelon on there. Shout out.
Yeah, there you go.
But that Six Flags, you guys were covered in a whole bunch of crap jumping around on the stage and stuff.
Yeah. The cornstarch and flour, I guess, that was like a real big thing that we used to do. Like, We were
We
always
did that
kind
up
of,
to Bamboozle, I think.
Yeah, I mean, we've done all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
We kind of tried to make sure that as soon as we got on stage, whether you liked it or not, you knew what was happening. Like we were memorable. We wanted that. Yeah. And the other thing too is like kind of when we first started was like when like that whole pop punk and emo-y thing was like real super popular.
Oh yeah.
So all the guys, everybody was real pretty looking and all nice and wearing their perfect shirts and pants and stuff. So we wanted to look as horrible as possible.
Yeah.
If we figured,
Man, we kind of had the same ideas as we were going around.
like, if we could be the scariest band in the room, that was always my favorite thing.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah.
I'd just like to point out, like, we did not rehearse this answer. I thought it was like, oh, you guys have any pre-show rituals? We're like, oh, nah, no, I brushed my teeth or something. But no.
It's funny because anytime I usually play with these guys, the pre-show ritual is usually finding one of them to drink with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
Usually,
is that your pre-show? Yeah.
well, you know, back when Blacktooth Grin first started, it was we always had to do like a big swig of Jaeger and Red Bull, and then just go on stage for some reason. Like, all right, this will get us through the first song. So that's what we figured out. And then there was one time we were playing. And I lost my voice, and Justin just walked up to me with a bottle of Honey Jack and goes, "This is how we're both going to get through this show," because I think he was feeling terrible too.
Oh man!
And that's just we were in a fire hall in Belmar, so you never know what you're going to do before the show. I feel like
Yeah.
Actually, now that we're older, I've been doing this for so long. My pre-show ritual is usually me freaking out because one of my band members isn't there yet, and we go on in 5 minutes.
What else did I want to ask you guys? You guys have been all over, even Brazil. That's pretty legit, man.
That was a fun time.
Any funny stories from the road or traveling or for being on stage? Anything that stands out?
How long is the show?
How
long is
the
the
fact
show?
that you guys are like smiling, it just curls in a little bit. Like, I got some
Because there are
stories.
so many stories. I mean,
Top 2 or 3. What do you got?
Oh, God. The one thing I would say, if there's any younger musicians out there listening, is to definitely like go out on the road at least once and
Do whatever you want.
yeah, do whatever. It's not great financially, and it won't help your band at all unless you really get serious about it. But like, a lot of weird stuff happens, and like in terms of like the top 2 or 3 stories, I mean, where do we even go with that? There's so
Can't
many.
even pick it out.
Is there one that like just comes to mind, or is it just too much?
Okay, I'll go along with our theme and Halloween.
Okay, perfect.
So we earlier on in our career or whatever.
The bus.
I was going to ask about the bus. You guys
No.
you guys had a bus at one point.
Yeah, we had a bus.
kind of
I'm
lived
going
in.
to talk
We'll
about
do that one, too.
the fetish show in New York.
Yeah, we'll do that. Okay.
Okay.
And then
So-
tee up the bus.
Yeah.
So we had this show, and I was in college at the time. I took a train into the city, and they drove in or whatever, and we pull up to this venue, and we knew it was a fetish show, but we really didn't understand like the level that it was going to be at this point. And we walk into the dressing room, and there's like old men getting like foot massages, getting their feet like licked by women and all this stuff, and
And you're just trying to tune up?
and we're trying to tune up the guitar, and this is all happening
Trying to go to
around us, and I'm pretty sure a couple of band members started to get involved uninvited.
I whipped that guy.
Yeah,
I was gonna say.
that's why I was
Yeah.
waiting for you to
I
admit
whipped-
it.
I
Yeah, the
whipped
fact that you looked right at him, like I'm
Yeah,
sure
no,
some band
there
members
was-
got involved.
There was this guy who was doing, it was like tickle fetish or some shit like that, and he had a riding crop, and I was like, I don't get the combination. He's like, oh, I also like to get like spanked with a riding crop. I was like, oh, cool, give me it. And I just
so we
started
got on stage
whipping
and
him with
started
the riding
doing
crop.
it,
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, it was fun. It was a good time.
And then we finished 6 bottles of Jack Daniels between 5 of
Oh
us.
man, that was brutal.
And
That's
then
right.
you ran out into the middle of the street, yelling at people in cars.
in like the Bowery in Manhattan.
Yeah.
That was a lot of fun.
That was just an interesting one. I guess that's not
I'll
actually that
say,
funny.
yeah. And what's this about the bus now?
All right, so we used to play with this band, a couple bands up in Massachusetts. They were kind of like our proteges up there.
Yeah.
A band called Scarecrow Hill and a band called Mongrel. And Scarecrow Hill used to throw these big, actually Halloween shows up there.
Halloween,
yeah.
Yep.
And we did one at kind of like whatever the bigger room was there in Plymouth, Massachusetts. I don't remember anything. I have the worst memories. I'm the worst for these kind of things. But so some of us were out hanging around with people, and Jeff Brogan, our guitar player at the time, and for the show on Saturday as well.
Okay.
And our road guy, Jeff Fago. You guys know Jeff Fago, right?
Yes.
So,
Yes.
Yeah. So we go into the bus, and for this particular tour, I think we were out like 4 or 5 days, something like that. And Brogan's like, "Oh, I'm going to bring fireworks." I was like, "Okay, cool."
That's
yeah.
a great idea.
So they're
gosh.
sitting in this bus, and we don't touch them, we don't look at them. So we're bored waiting for the other guys to come over back so we could leave. And we're like, "Oh, let's light sparklers, guys." So now, granted, there was
And write our names in the sky.
there was some drinking going on. So we're inside the bus, holding these sparklers, lighting them up, and whatever. Ha ha ha! Giggle, giggle, giggle.
Inside the bus.
Because then the idea was like, oh, let's see how much smoke we could fill the bus with.
Sure.
So all of a sudden, I'm kind of noticing like it's a little reckless. But me being me, what's the worst that can happen?
A bus full of fuel and fireworks.
So, Fago turns and he's like, oh, that's weird. There's a bunch of like little flames on the ground.
Oh my god.
And then he turns around and says, the box is on fire. As in the box of fireworks.
The entire box of fireworks.
So, almost like a superhero. He was like Superman mixed with the Flash or whatever, and he like dives over.
And I don't know if anyone's ever seen this Fago. He does not look like Superman or the Flash.
It was amazing. It was so agile. It was great. So he grabs the box, slams the bus door open, throws the box, and almost like it was a movie, the box hits the ground and explodes. So like a 10-foot flame flies up in the air, and then Roman candles are shooting in every direction. So
including under the bus. So they're not safe yet.
So now there is a full fire, right? And my level of bravery, I ran. I took off running. And Justin Mazik, who hopefully is still listening, comes tearing ass down through the parking lot, jumps into the driver's seat, and like slams it in reverse and pulls the bus away from this gigantic flame. Yeah,
that sounds way too smart.
The day. Yeah. So I mean, I was.
And you're in the woods somewhere.
Yeah, I'm gone.
Halfway back to Jersey.
I'm running and like whatever.
Why is this not a music video?
Wait, if anybody in Massachusetts is listening, this is what happens when you don't sell people alcohol with Jersey licenses. Because then they go back to the.
Then we get bored.
Then they get bored.
Yeah.
So you guys, I'm guessing that they thought your IDs weren't real and they wouldn't give you booze, so you were like drinking out of the bus. Is that how? Okay,
yeah, that's exactly what happened.
Okay.
Yes. So and then that.
You look 50. I don't know how they could have let you through.
Yeah, I know exactly. So then the promoter of the show comes running out, and I'm thinking like, oh god, here it comes. They're gonna call the cops, whatever. He's like, you guys are rock gods. It was great. Yeah, and then the bus smelled like burnt plastic for like 3 months after that.
Crazy.
So it was fun.
The chat, life lesson, light fireworks and run.
Oh, man.
The life lesson is don't do anything I'm talking about ever, because it's the dumbest stuff in the world. Oh, man. That was a pretty good one.
Wait, and I have one more quick.
Yeah, please.
So we were. I'm not going to name the person that did this, but
Trevor.
We were in traffic on the way to a show, I believe in Delaware, right around the toll.
See, the thing is, we can't even guess. There's so many. of them.
No,
I don't even know where he's going
just
with
wait.
this.
So we were stuck. I think people were getting out of their cars, like playing frisbee and stuff, and
Plays frisbee.
that's
the weirdest part of the story.
throwing balls in the street, and then all of a sudden, somebody really had to take a piss. So we swore you couldn't actually piss into the bottle and not
throw it
and not miss, right? So somebody pissed into the bottle, and then decided that it was going to be a really good idea to drink it.
Oh.
Yeah, that happened. And oddly enough, not me.
we all did kind of.
Everybody kind of looked at me.
No, it was not.
Was not me.
It's wrong. I don't know why.
I'm not gonna lie. If I had to pick one of you, it would have been you.
I know.
It wasn't either one of us, but I'm
Shocking,
not going to
isn't
say
it?
who it was.
Okay.
I'm just going to leave that one right there.
We'll leave it on that.
Yeah.
Was this person intoxicated when they decided?
No.
to do
Absolutely
this?
not.
No, it was actually the driver of the
driver of the vehicle.
And this is also
I know
like,
it was. Got
this
it.
is also like 2:00 in the
Yeah,
afternoon.
middle of the day.
Yeah, this wasn't like after a debauched night somewhere. This was just.
All right, I got it.
The
I'll ask you that one
story
off
is
the air.
We should never get bored.
Never.
No. Well, there's a few times where we've all been bored together, and it usually does lead to debauchery.
Oh yes, I've heard some stories.
Well, just in a nutshell.
Is this happening?
No, and we're not going to go into full details because we like to tell the story at the show, so you should come out to the show on
October 27th, of course, at EJ's Tap House in Seaside.
I'm a professional.
See, there you go.
Shameless promo.
Shameless promo. When you guys all lived in the house together, I one time went over there, and it just ended with me and Spags painting each other, and then you fought an inanimate object, and that object won.
I got my ass kicked by a tent. That happened.
Awesome. Well,
And you know why? Because we were bored. You didn't have cable, and that's what happened.
When I can't watch SpongeBob, that's what happened.
Well, on that note, I think let's throw up some more music. Now this one I'm not as familiar with. Not exercise, but exorcise.
Exorcist.
Exorcise.
Yes. What's this one about?
This is basically about feeling like everybody thinks you're wrong, and not listening to you and wanting to tell you that you need to be some way and that the way you feel is wrong. Like they try to like exorcise the demons from you, basically.
To
And
exorcise the demons.
exorcise the demons. And the song's basically about not letting them get inside your head and not letting them change the way.
This is also a little bit of a throwback to. This is off our 2008 EP
okay.
called The War Against.
And this was also on MTV Brazil.
It
for
was
a
on
period
MTV
of
No
time.
way.
MTV Brazil, you had hair.
I had hair back then. Yeah.
Back then, so it's a completely different look for you guys.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. Let's do a little end in an era here on the Bob Culture Podcast.
Don't wanna be exercised or compromised for everything I know. Don't want any alibis to compromise everything that's yours. As he walks along the edge, he hears the words being said, and he wonders how it ever got this way. To be the one that has to say the way that things just shouldn't be. It's getting why can't you say what's in my head? And no one knows what I know. Me, why can't you be just how I am? And no one's there. Don't wanna be exercised or compromised for everything I know. Don't want any alibis to compromise everything that's yours. As he walks along the edge, he feels the ripping, piercing stares, and he knows he cannot last much longer here. He screams so loud no one hears. They're so immersed in all their fears. He knows it's wrong. Don't wanna be exercised or compromised for everything I know. Don't want any alibis to compromise everything that's yours. Don't wanna be exercised or compromised for everything I know. Don't want any alibis to compromise everything that's yours. Why can't you say what's in my head? And no one knows what I know. Me, why can't you say just how I am? And no one's there. Don't wanna be exercised or compromised for everything I know. Don't want any alibis to compromise everything that's yours. Don't wanna be exercised or compromised for everything I know. Don't want any alibis to compromise everything that's yours. It should have been.
You are listening to the Bob Culture Podcast, obviously. Hey, do me a favor right now, though. If you're on Twitch, click that follow button, click those bells so you get notified every time
Follow
we
him.
go live.
Follow that guy.
Yeah, and follow my friends End of an Era on Facebook and all that good stuff.
Yeah, all those
I like
places.
I like these guys.
Yeah.
YouTube, they got some good videos.
Yeah,
too.
and check out my live journal, my Zanga, and my MySpace.
Woo!
And,
Remember Zanga?
remember Zanga?
Kind of dope. It was like Live Journal, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was like
The same
another.
thing?
Yeah, you know. Yeah, you had that one girl that was just like on her away message on AOL. But at the end, you scroll the bottom like my Zanga, and you're like, all right, let's see what she's into. So then you bring it up to her, maybe I don't know. And then it was just her poetry. So you're like, oh.
Her horrible 14-year-old poetry.
Yeah, it was just terrible. So anyway, yeah, click the follow button, ring the bells for the likes. Here we are with Bob, Spags, Jeff. Like I said, back here on the Podcast Dummies Network.
I was
you,
giving
Trevor.
instructions to blow a kiss to Brogan out there, so hold on. Where's my camera?
Your camera, I think's here. There you
Hi,
go.
Brogan. Jeff Brogan is one of the guys, our guitar player for many years, who will be joining us again on Saturday for a bunch of songs.
It's funny because I feel like that incarnation of End of an Era with Brogan, like you guys had nicknames. Like he was just Jeff, right?
Yeah,
and
kinda.
then Steve,
That's what he
but
used to
then
call himself.
Steve was Steve Blair, which
I
is like your
never-
typical porn name
Never
that you could have
understood
had.
that one.
No,
If Steve's listening, he can maybe explain it to us. I never understood
you
why
can
that
type in the
happened.
chat. I don't know.
Yeah, guys, chime in on the chat.
So
yeah.
the issue was that there was a point in time where we were on tour with 6 Jeffs, especially whenever we would go out with Suicide City. They had a Jeff, we had 4 Jeffs.
Yeah, so he's Jeff Wallace. I'm Jeff Spagnola in real life. We had Jeff Brogan, and then Jeff Fago was our road guy. And then they had Jeff Cummings was their sound guy. And who was the other guy?
No, Jeff Cummings was like their road guy, and another Jeff with
another
a
Jeff
kilt
that's
was
right.
the sound
Kilt,
guy.
Yeah, Kilt Jeff.
So there were 6 Jeffs.
Yeah, the
So then
nicknames
everyone-
became a necessity at that point. Yeah,
That makes a little bit more sense. I was
mainly
wondering,
last names.
Yeah.
but we have no idea where the Blair came from.
No, he
Okay.
just became Blair one day. I'm
Interesting.
going to say it was because of the Blair Witch Project. but
That
I'm not
happened
sure.
in
I made that up.
that came about in Coconuts Music in Tom's River when we were purchasing Skinny Puppy CDs, or maybe not purchasing, something like that.
And that's
Now,
why there's no more coconuts.
I remember when
in
that
Tom's
actually.
River.
I remember when that
Wallace just
actually.
admitted to like grand larceny.
I just remember that actually happening, the
Oh.
Blair thing. I don't remember why. I just remember the day and moment that happened. Yeah, that's it. That's all I have to say.
I didn't know if there was a reason behind all the
No,
nicknames.
there's no
not
reason.
really. Just there was too many of us with the same name.
Yeah.
Pretty much what it came down to.
That works.
Well, we'll see.
So I got stuck with the boring one.
Yeah.
Your actual birth name?
Jeff.
Jeff.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this is the question. Sometimes people give me the politically correct answer. Sometimes people keep it real. You do whatever whatever's best for business. You do whatever you want. No pressure. What do you guys think of the local scene right now musically?
Have you been involved with it since you guys are? And that's a set follow up on that one. Are you even been involved with it since you guys have taken your hiatus?
True.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that I'm involved to a degree. Maybe not so much in a scene. Like I book shows and stuff like that, and I have a few other things that are under my belt that I do with bands and stuff. But I don't know about the scene per se. As far as like what I think about it now, it's kind of hard because sometimes I feel like I'm like the old man on the porch with the rake, like screaming at your kids.
Old
and
man
stuff.
yells at cloud.
Yeah, that's kind of what I feel like sometimes because, like, I don't know, it just doesn't have the same feel as kind of like what we were talking about kind of when we were first kind of coming up. And evidenced by the fact that, like, you guys, I've known both of you guys for over a decade, and, like, we're still friends.
Yeah.
And we met by playing shows together.
True.
Our bands were always friendly. You know, they're talking about, like, oh, yeah, you know, you guys, or End of an Era gave Vection a bunch of shows, gave whatever. Like, I mean, that's kind of what it was all about. That's why I wasn't lying when I said that you saying that meant more to me than all
No,
the
for real,
crap
man.
accomplishments that we went up doing.
No, I don't
you know?
take things for granted,
And
man.
I
No,
don't
for sure.
see the bands nowadays kind of making those same
Connections?
relationships. And maybe I'm wrong, and maybe my finger's not on the pulse of things, but it's just different. Like, I remember not that long ago. I'm not that old, I don't think. But I remember, like, you would go to a show at Starland or go to a show at the Stone Pony, and you'd see 12 of your friends there out. Everybody's handing out flyers. Everybody's handing out, you know, demo CDs. I know CDs aren't in vogue these days, but, like, you know, it used to actually be annoying walking out of Starland and receiving 39 flyers from bands. And now it's annoying that I don't see anyone doing it. Right?
Right? Yeah, isn't that funny?
Well, because it's at the same point. Like if you look back, like you said, over a decade we've known each other, and how many times it's just like oh, I'm booking a show and I got spot for 2 bands. I'm like, well, I got a buddy's band that would play, no problem. Oh yeah, bring them on. And it's not that we always wanted to do the same show either. There were times where we kind of went off on our own, absolutely. But if you think about over the last 10, 12 years that we've known each other and playing together, 99% of the places we play don't exist anymore. Yeah. All right? And a lot of places that... And a lot of things that were cool back then. Like, it'd be Friday night. If we weren't playing, you could go down to the local VFW because someone was playing or something was happening. But, like, you don't hear about that anymore. You know, we used to make, like you said, flyers all the time. There was Room 20 at 58. There was Chubby's in Red Bank. The Pony was way different than it is now and not corporate run.
Yeah.
Chrome.
Yeah.
Birch Hill, yeah.
You know, there's... But, like, so the question is, too, like... I don't know, again, about a music scene. You know, because working at a music store, you used to see all these kids come in, but it's just like, oh, yeah, we're you know.
I also think that... I mean, in terms of like the venues and stuff, I think that tastes have changed, and also the business aspect of it has caught up to the business owners a little bit. So, like, as a for instance, this is going to be a horribly unpopular opinion.
Go ahead.
But I'm going to go for it anyway. Screw it, right? So, like, you go to a show now, and you walk in and you pay $15 at the door, and you go in and you're looking around, and there's probably, it may not be air conditioned because the venue's like a little bit run down, and you have to sit through 34 bands that you don't want to see the band that you do want to see play for 15 minutes. And you go to get a beer and you get like a hot mug of the beer that you don't want because they don't sell it there. Yeah. And then you go to the bathroom and you get leprosy from the toilet and stuff. And it's just not an experience that's romantic anymore. I mean, when I was younger, it was a little bit like, you know, you think like, oh, CBGB's and all these places. And it was like the romantic idea of a music venue. And I don't think that that's the experience that young people want to have. So I think...
The one you just described.
The one I just described, yeah. You know, and it's pretty evident in the fact that you don't see them there, you know? That they're not coming to the shows. Like nowadays, like years ago when we would play...
You'd go to Chubby's and people, like, they put a little bit of production value into it. Like, they dimmed the lights, turned the lights on. It was kind of still like a show. People would jump off speakers or climb the rafters. Now you're just like you're getting there and you're hoping they have enough mics for the people in your band.
Yeah, and the crowds have changed too. It's like years ago you'd go into anywhere, any of these venues that we're talking about, and there'd be 40 kids there, and you'd be like, oh, only 40 kids. That's weird. What happened? Is it snowing?
Slow night.
Yeah. You know, did everyone's grandmothers die today or something like that? And now, like, if you see 40 kids at a show, you're like, damn, wow, this is a great night. This is killing it.
And just shameless plug,
please.
EJ's is newly renovated craft beer bar with real bathrooms. So,
really?
Yeah.
Get right out of
it's
town.
actually going to be a classy joint.
Yeah, they put a bunch of money into that bar in the last couple of years. And it's great. A nice little stage.
So you can enjoy your night.
Nice little night.
You know.
Yeah.
I've never not enjoyed my night there, but it's also because I usually don't remember my night.
Well, that's
there.
part of the experience.
Oh yeah, absolutely. People talk through screens now and don't like to make real relationships, so it's hard to go to places and not actually talk to real people.
That's true too. That's what I'm saying. Like where like the culture around music is different, and you know, like even like when we were coming up, like the social media thing was there, but it wasn't like the be all end all of your career, which it seems to have become that now. And it's just tough. And like I said, I feel like I sound like the old man screaming at the cloud or whatever. But who knows? Maybe I am. I mean, I was talking to
you got some points.
Steve from Woodfish. You guys know the band Woodfish?
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Steve, the bass player, great guy. Love that guy to death. And he was telling me how much stuff has changed since when he started in the 90s, which is when he thinks the best time was. Yeah. And I'm sure someone told him something was great in the 80s, and somebody told him that something was great in the 70s. So, you know, I don't... Well, like maybe I am out of touch.
An actual thing, though, like that bands used to do is sit down and have the merch table, but like how much effort you used to put into, I guess, what used to be vinyl and then, you know, all the way up to cassette and CDs. Like, with you guys, you've had so many different CDs, album art. What are we going to make this actual disc look like? Now I couldn't even imagine doing that. I'm just worried about, and you're still doing.
We were just talking
you
about
have a
it,
new album coming out soon.
Yeah, we were just talking about
a lot of question marks. Yeah,
you just need a thumbnail, something that's small enough on iTunes now, because you're going to click and download it. Like,
there's you're probably not going to do that either.
No, but the new cars don't even have CD players, so like that's one less thing.
Yeah.
So I personally purposely took myself out of the scene. I found myself not enjoying it anymore.
It didn't enjoy you either.
For just personal reasons. It was like nuts. But like by taking myself out of it, and then when I plant myself back in and see, one of the things that I know we always used to do, and all of us here used to do, is we used to go to shows and we were the first ones there and we were the last ones to leave.
This is true.
And we were there.
It's the only way I could take him home.
Yeah, and this was even before we could drink at the bars. We had this rule that we would be the first ones there and the last ones to leave, and that we were going to try to have FaceTime and make a personal connection with anybody that would have us. Like, and going back to what whoever in the chat said, like we really made it a point to talk to people and hear them and make friends at all over the country. And that's where I actually attribute our success, not because of our fantastic, awesome music. I think it was because people really liked having us around. And when I go to shows now, I don't get looked at by any member of any band ever, except if they're like, "You want a CD? You want to buy a shirt?" And that's it. Like, that's the extent of it. And I think that's been lost, that like, make a connection with your fan face to face, not just online.
Nothing ever made me feel more scummier, I think is the right word, that if we played a show and like if I had a job or something I had to go do, like, and I was making the effort for the other guys to do the show because they could do it, and like I don't want to be the only one. But nothing made me feel worse of playing and then bouncing. Yeah. Or like you're packing up right after you get in the car and leave. Like I don't think, but I think that's what every band does now, and that's what every band's fans/friends do. They come for the 10 minutes before they're supposed to play.
And maybe not every band, because I don't want to offend anybody that's working hard out there. Yeah. But I see that a lot.
No, I see it all the time. That kind of you're there for your set, and then you leave, and then you also bring whatever friends you brought out with you.
Yeah, and like you said,
crowd disappears.
With you booking shows, I'm sure people hit you up all the time. Oh, what time's our set list? What time's this? And you're like, doors are at 7, load-in's at 6:30. Yeah, but what time do I have to be there? I'm not getting there at 6:30.
Totally, all the time. Yeah. I've actually had people, and it goes back to even like you were saying with venues closing and stuff. I've seen shows where the guy on stage is like, "Okay, yeah, after our set, we're all going to the bar next door." And it's like, you motherfucker. Like, you like, really? Like, that's what you're doing? And I wish I could say that was an isolated incident, but I've seen people do that quite a few times. And
that goes back to
also,
the more beer, though.
That third curse. So only 3 so far.
Only 3 so far.
I'm doing pretty good, yeah.
So here's an interesting. I know we're all down on everything right now.
But it went real negative. But thanks for everyone hanging out in the chat. Like I said, click that follow button, ring those bells.
But honestly, like it is about supporting the scene. That's why I do the podcast. I was stoked to have you guys. Trevor's helping me out. We're helping you guys out. You guys are helping me out.
And no one knows what's going on underneath any of this table now.
None of us are wearing pants.
Oh, I want to shout out a few people that
please do
also support the scene huge over the time. Jeff Crespi.
Crespi. We just worked with him. Yeah.
Nick Ragosta.
TMRN.
I don't know if I can say both of their names back to back. I don't know if they're but those guys used to be as into it as the bands, and those people like that are very few and far between these days. And
absolutely,
so gotta shout those people out.
Absolutely, good call. Absolutely, we're all about the shameless plugs here.
No, it's fine.
One more kind of tricky question, and I usually don't ask this one, but just finishing a CD and recording, hanging out with a lot of musicians, we've been talking about this, and not just the state of the local scene, but just rock music in general, or the music industry in general, more so towards rock right now. But any thoughts on that, or is it going to be somewhat extinct for a little while? And any thoughts on just rock right now?
I'm going to beat him to this one.
Yeah.
I think rock is stale right now. I think rock is the new pop music, and I think like this actually goes into kind of what I'm going to say later, I think. But some of the pop music and the alternative right now, I think, is more creative and more innovative than any of the rock coming out. Like the rock is so cookie cutter. It's so formulaic. Like a lot of the new pop and alt artists are just going, fuck you, I do what I want. And it's more interesting. So I think they're the new rock stars right now, in my mind.
That's an interesting take. Kind of look at it from the other side. Okay, that's cool.
I agree with you 100%.
Yeah.
In fact, I don't really listen to a whole lot of rock stuff at all anymore, so I'm part of the problem, really.
No, not at all. Not at all.
But you know what they say, if it's too loud, you're too old.
I'm way too old. That's for sure. I'm listening to nice.
I just really
reasonable
wanted to
quality.
quote Airheads at some point tonight. So
There it is. Mission accomplished.
I do think a lot of it is a little stale, like he said, and I also think that it's a little bit behind the times in terms of how they're promoting it and how they're promoting themselves, and they're still working off kind of like that old model of how to release your stuff and how to tour on and all that other crap. And it just, I don't know. It's tough. It's a tough one, and I don't think you're going to see a change in that until there is some sort of big change. Because even like going back to the cookie cutter aspect, and I'm sure someone's going to yell at me for this too, I'm sure. But like the two biggest rock bands that are out right now, newer rock bands, can we agree?
Foo Fighters?
It's not like newer rock.
Oh,
bands.
okay.
Foo Fighters they've been around. They're going to sell out arenas for the next 20 years.
Right, okay.
But like the two bigger bands that I've seen kind of come out that are on the younger end are the Struts and Greta Van Fleet, right?
Okay.
So Greta Van Fleet, you can make an argument that's a cover band. You know what I mean? I mean that is Led Zeppelin to a T.
I've heard that before.
And it's like they're great and they're really really talented. I couldn't possibly care less. It's like I've seen it for my entire lifespan. You know what I mean? And the Struts kind of the same thing. The Struts are kind of a throwback retro act, and congratulations on the success, but it's not interesting to me.
It's like some of the most played, and I don't know, just because of my profession of radio, I hear Imagine Dragons on everything from pop radio to alternative radio.
Most of my drum lessons, Imagine
it's
Dragons.
just all Imagine Dragons, So, you don't have. It's weird when I hear alternative and I turn on the alternative station and I'm expecting to hear, like, you see Pearl Jam or Stone Temple Pilots or Nirvana, and then I'll even go further down to hear maybe like 30 Seconds to Mars, and I'm hearing Imagine Dragons and they're just like, this is so alternative. I'm like, is it? But like, I think the definition has changed.
Yeah, it's the alternative. It's not pop. It's not heavy.
There's
it's not hard rock.
Alternative is no longer alternative rock.
Yeah.
Alternative is now it's like mixed into every genre.
And there are some bands out there now too that are pushing envelopes and they are making interesting music. That I do like that band Nothing More. I think is great.
Yeah, they're awesome.
There's another one on the tip of my. I still like Panic at the Disco because like I'm a 14-year-old girl.
He's keeping it fresh.
It's fresh. I mean, is it rock? Probably not. But
you guys dig Hailstorm?
Hailstorm's all right.
I dig the riffs.
Yeah.
I actually just heard the new Bring Me the Horizon on the way down here, and it's
actually
really good.
I liked them as soon as they got soft.
But it sounded
about
really
getting
good.
soft.
And they have
I haven't
Danny
been hard in
Filth.
years.
So I the song that I heard on the way down here on Sirius actually had Danny Filth on it, and you would never think you would never think of Danny Filth being on a newer sounding record, and he was, and it was awesome. But that's the thing. At least he was like open-minded enough to go. Like, people have been giving Bring Me the Horizon a lot of shit for kind of switching from that heavy rock to. It's still heavy. It's probably heavier now, actually, but to what it is now. And then Danny Filth's like, I'm going to get on this with them. It's awesome. So I thought that's cool. I actually see that as an open-mindedness and a gateway to a possible future for some of that stuff.
I got to give a shout out right now to Ramones Freak. Funny story, I saw Vection at your Halloween bash in 2011 at the Brighton Bar.
Nice.
Love them and now follow them ever since. I cannot wait for this Saturday. Going to be an awesome show. You are putting way too much pressure on us.
Yeah, now we're going to play well?
Come
on.
I'm going to have band practice now.
Ramones Freak has some of the best YouTube videos of...
I think that's Shannon, I believe. And she's
Shannon.
always very supportive. Her and Anthony.
Yeah,
fantastic. Always supporting the scene, always supporting the
Thanks
band.
for listening, guys.
It's going to be great.
Yeah.
I'm stoked. I've been working on this Bohemian Rhapsody project to kind of, again, support the local scene, bringing you guys in, bringing this guy in.
It's also been a dream of yours, don't lie.
For a long time, man. I'm stoked. And now,
now we can switch the interview to you.
Yeah.
So, right here.
There's a point here. But we're doing the vocals right now. And you have Freddie Mercury. I mean... Yeah. Irreplaceable, and we're trying to put all the harmonies together.
I'm going to be the worst one on this record.
Who's going to sing what part? Like, I'm trying to structure that. We did like a little bit of an a cappella practice for that beginning part. Is this the real life? Mm-hmm. It's tough. The vocals are tough.
Yes.
And
one of the hardest
just talking about rock music and all these great bands over time, like. I'm thinking like who's going to be the next Freddie Mercury
That's a great point. I mean, you think of like these all-time talents when you think about like the Princes and stuff like that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Who's going to look back you look back at, like you said, Prince, Freddie Mercury, Aretha Franklin just passed.
Yeah.
These are all legends of their genre and this like that. What's gonna happen when people look back at 2001?
I think about that all the time when you're like
2010.
the Rolling Stones into their 70s, Paul McCartney into his 70s,
Steven Tyler, one of my favorites, Aerosmith.
Another one. Like, are you gonna go see Buckcherry when they're 70? You know what I mean? Like, I just don't see it. And maybe I'm wrong.
I think Foo Fighters will be one of them that sticks it out.
Ding,
for the
ding,
long
ding.
haul.
Yeah.
Dave Grohl, alone.
I'm really disappointed that Adam Lambert didn't kind of go on his own. I think he could have been one of those voices, one of those songwriters, and one of those personalities that could have really lasted.
But that's the time period where he's coming through.
I get
That.
what
Like,
you're
is
saying.
that what it
I think
is
he could.
called for though? Like, did it call for him to be that? Like, if you look at
I
like
think it did.
Daughtry, and he tried to do his own thing, and he had that one good first record. And he's still
That's
putting out
just
music, but you don't
that's
remember.
just the industry screwing over.
But that's what I'm
people.
saying.
Yeah.
Like,
I see a lot of really cool artists not getting past their first record. I mean, still having great careers. You know, like Adam Lambert went off, and he still has a great career, but he's not the voice of a generation that I think he could have been at one point.
Touring with Queen, right?
Yeah,
Is that
and
what you mean?
so I think guys like that are getting lost in the shuffle.
That's
And,
interesting perspective. Yeah, and I get that. To your point, Spags, about seeing these guys are getting up there.
Yeah.
It's funny. I saw Aerosmith when I was in college, early mid 2000. You know,
like 3 years ago.
well then I no. But actually, I did see them 3 years ago, and they were way better than when I saw them way back in college. You know, who knows what they were doing or
Yeah,
messing
it might be a
with.
little
They didn't do
cleaner.
an encore. The set list was real weird. They did a lot of bluesy stuff from that blues record. Steven Tyler, one of my favorite, singers. Joe Perry, one of my favorite guitarists. Aerosmith, one of my favorite bands.
Yeah.
We saw him 3 years ago. He's walking on the you got that. He was walking on the piano. Steven Tyler. He's throwing the mic stand around. They were fantastic 3 years ago. You know, they're up there. Slash came out and played with them.
Yeah.
Broke a string. The guy tried to hand Slash a new guitar. No, don't need it. I'll just play without the string.
you know, did you?
Fantastic. So those guys still got
It'll
it.
be- yeah,
But
it'll
I know
be-
what you're saying.
It'll be
be
interesting
interesting.
to see that. Like, you
Yeah.
know, who's around, if they're...
I think it's going to be a lot of country artists that people
Could
look
be,
back
yeah.
on.
You know
That's
what?
a great
I really
point.
do.
That's
Yeah.
a great point.
You know, country music.
Country's
is
not that twangy, like hick music that people perceive it to be anymore. Like that's hitting the mainstream so hard. I think it's the top selling music at least in the
Traditionally,
US.
it's been the top-selling music
Yeah.
in the U.S. Now it's hip-hop, actually,
Yeah,
currently.
okay,
But
there you go.
Yeah, but at the same point, you're right. It's not people who listen to country Willie Nelson time or earlier. It's not the same kind of country
Yeah.
now.
No, it's not George Strait. It's not anything like that anymore. Yeah.
But absolutely, I want to ask you real quick. I want to go back to the show that's happening on Saturday.
Sure.
Shameless plugs.
At EJ's Tap House. You guys have 4 records out. Is it? It's 4. Now here's the thing, and I say that with
It's
you.
3.5.
Yeah.
3.5.
We have
We
two
have a couple
EPs in the
EPs and
middle.
stuff.
Well, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like I went through and I digitized my whole entire CD collection. Like I said, we've known each other for a very long time. I found stuff from you guys, and then there's things that like got scratched and won't read anymore. But I know what it was. Like I still had the CD somewhere. The first now I'm blanking out. But like I had New Year's Day. And I had the one with Kesho on it when you guys recorded, and I just had all these random demos from you guys. And then there was one that you guys did before. Like, it's weird because we've shown each other so much stuff, and there's like original demos that I like better than the ones when you guys produced it and finished
So
it.
this Strikes Back, I think, might be the one you're talking
I think so.
Yeah.
This was probably right when Steve was leaving the band because he's on that one singing, but I don't think he's when you redid one.
stuck
He
around
was
for a
on
little
that.
while
He was
longer.
on that.
He was
He was
that.
on like the first EP.
Yeah, Strikes Back was kind of like a weird thing. We only released it on download card, and
Yes.
we were like a little too quick to that.
Right.
And
Waretown Fire Hall, you guys gave
we
that
should
out.
probably
Wow.
throw that up as like a B
yeah,
side.
maybe.
Yeah.
It's funny too because like I hate to sound like that kind
Get
of
off
guy.
my lawn now.
No, but like no, we were like one of the first orders from dropcards.com.
No, yeah, you were.
Nobody
of
got
all
it.
time.
You guys were ahead of the.
Oh, we were way ahead of the
Yeah.
curve as
far
far as
ahead.
the digital. Way too far.
Nobody
Yeah.
understood what
we
to do
put
with
that
it.
out. We sold 500 of them, and I think like 90 people actually downloaded it. So a bunch of people paid for it and never couldn't
downloaded
figure out
it.
what to do with it. Yeah, so that was kind of like a little bit of a
in the
lost
disk drive.
Yeah, that was a bit of a lost EP. That one.
I don't even think I have a copy of that. A hard drive
I have
that
this-
had all the masters
Yeah.
from like everything before the self-titled got dropped on the floor, and it's going to cost like $1,000 if I ever want to try
I
to.
have MP3s of it, I think.
There you go. That's enough.
Yeah, I
Low
got
quality
all the masters are
MP3s,
gone.
But like that's the funny thing. Like I've only seen you guys do certain songs once live or
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Or you just showed me the recordings once. Like and that brings me to my next point. What can we expect on Saturday? Are we going to expect things that? And I always bring this up to Spags every time he laughs. But we played the Stone Pony 2007 would be the War Against, right?
2008.
2008.
yeah.
You guys, it was Christmas time. Did a CD release. This is the only time I've ever heard you guys play Global Warming live. So I was wondering, is there any deep cuts that you guys probably haven't played or wanted to play that you guys are going to do on?
Deep cuts.
Like I said, the Global Warming, and I always bring that song up because when I loaded it on my Xbox, it would, if it went to End of an Era first, that's the first song because it was the first track on it. And that's, I'd kill people in Call of Duty. I'm like, why don't they play this song ever?
So we are playing, not that one. I will say not that one.
I heard they're taking
We are playing a good bit of War Against.
Okay.
We are.
So the idea of the set list was we wanted to kind of pick out stuff that the people coming to the show would be into seeing.
Okay.
You know, and also stuff that we could play.
Yeah.
Remember how to play?
Yeah.
And then,
Exactly.
you know, so the theme of the show, without trying to give too much away, is kind of like Wallace said before, we're like, you know, celebrating the entire legacy of the band.
Catalog.
So we're playing stuff pretty much from all correct me if I'm wrong, all the
Main
albums, all the main
yes.
albums.
Yes.
And the people that recorded on them are
Gonna play
them live. That's about all I'll give out.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, but you know, play the hits.
I heard they were going to take requests all night.
I will say, I'm pretty sure, if my calculations are correct, it's something like 16 songs.
16
songs.
songs. Any covers?
It's going to be a
in that?
lot.
No covers.
No covers, because you guys did record a lot of covers.
Yeah, no, we're going to do 16
End of an Era
straight End of
songs.
an Era songs.
Two drum solos, I heard. At
Oh
least.
my god, I would just kill myself.
Yeah.
I'm like the worst drummer. If you
Oh,
want me to
stop.
leave a room, start playing a drum solo. I hate them.
Yeah, but that's the best part. Usually it's like, oh, we broke something. Brian, play.
Oh
Yeah.
god.
We're good enough.
Yeah,
Play
I get that.
That's
a lot.
like
Just
throwing-
play something.
To me, a drum solo is like throwing a bag of rocks down the stairs. I'd rather see that actually, because then somebody's gonna get hurt. That's funny to me. Like,
You know, have you guys ever had something catastrophic like that and you had to fill time? And
all the time.
Yeah. Oh my
We
god,
had
in the beginning.
all the time. So like we always had, you know, blessing and a curse. We always had a lot of technology going on.
Yep.
Yeah.
So between keyboards and having like, you know, backing tracks, not afraid to tell people we do that.
Yeah, I don't care.
You know, that's my favorite member of the band is our keyboard
It's our
player.
sampler.
Yeah,
Is his name
sampler.
Jeff too? Or
No, what did we call it? What did we call
it has
sampler?
We had a bunch of names for him over the years, but so like a lot of times, technology will fail you,
Yes.
and that's happened.
why I like
Who
drums.
forgot to charge it? Or
Quite a
where's
bit.
the battery?
Oh my god, one of our big release shows, actually, our sampler was totally dead.
Yeah,
So we can play without it. So we had to play the entire beginning of the show without it. It's just not as fun.
yeah.
You know,
Or
it's-
we've had like amps blow up and stuff. I mean,
Yeah.
things like that. It just happen, unfortunately.
Oh, that stinks.
Oh yeah, it's
Yeah.
fuses pop. I've been there.
Yeah.
Again, I just yell at Brian, the drummer, to play something.
Play
That's why I tell people digital's the way. They don't blow tubes at least.
Yeah, we're not purists by any means.
Yeah, no.
As we talk about the show, obviously we have End of an Era, we got Blacktooth Grin, we got Vection. We didn't talk about DJ Varlin, who's
Our
been
good friend Varlin
going back.
Yeah, she's gone back quite a ways with us as well. That's why I wanted to include her
Yeah.
in that. So it's always kind of like, you know, after
perfect.
the band's little after party in the same room kind of deal.
She's actually a pretty accomplished musician in her own right. She's
Yeah.
really, really
we actually
talented
met her
as songwriting
in like
partners.
probably like 2008, 2009. She was playing. I forget what band she was in. She was a singer for some band that I forget because I'm terrible with that.
Played piano.
Played piano, yeah. And then when she started DJing, I was like, oh fuck yeah, let's do this. Yeah, let's close out
4.
shows like that. Yeah.
I thought it was
Is
5.
that 5?
Maybe it's 5.
I think it's
5. Sorry.
Oh no.
Okay, 5 curses for me is amazing.
Yeah,
Okay, this is
let's
crazy.
be real.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Final question here. I gotta put the tricky one in here.
Okay.
What's the future of End of an Era? You guys have been on again, off again through different members. We're kind of reunited. Oh, Trevor's got something.
No,
here.
and I know you. Future past Saturday. Don't just go to
Yeah,
Saturday.
exactly.
Damn it! How did you know I was going to say that?
Because I know you. It's
I was
been
like,
12 years.
well,
Good
like
call.
in a couple days.
Yeah.
We're gonna play a show. Yeah.
You guys reunite for this Halloween show. I'm curious. A lot of people are curious. Are you gonna leave us hanging? Is it up in the air? Is
Said
it
a
to
lot
be
of people are
continued?
curious. Like,
Hey, we
more
got
than-
12.
curious.
We
More
got
than
12
three?
people watching us right now that have been going in and out. Hey, shout out to Timmy. Loves the Bob Culture podcast. He says.
There you go, Timmy.
My man.
So what's the question? Future?
Future, man. What's the future hold for
future.
the band?
It's on you, buddy.
All right. So what I'm going to say is that we've been around, what do we say, for 13 years now. And when we started this 13 years ago, we had like this vision for what End of an Era was going to be. It was electronic based. At that time, nobody was really doing the electronics with rock. It was actually frowned upon.
I had a band member who hated the fact that you guys used any kind of technology.
Oh yeah. So
totally.
people hated it, and we loved it, and we were going to do it strong and hard, and we fell into a lot of these little worlds, and we got really heavy, and it was really raunchy and raw, and still had the electronics. And we got through all these phases, and it was really badass, and it was very telling of a time in our lives. And we were all in. I mean, and when we say we lived the life all in, we lived it all in. And I think we got to a point over the years where our tastes changed, where our musical ideology was changing, and we started to see the music of End of an Era change. And I think it started to change almost so much that it was straying away from the core of what End of an Era was created to be. And so I think, as far as writing music and releasing new music, End of an Era is complete. We completed that cycle. We want to be able to create music. I know Spags and I still send ideas back and forth.
Really?
We collaborate with other guys. With
great.
the other guys, I hang out with Chris all the time. We write. But I think we need the freedom to break the End of an Era mold and like do something else without tarnishing what End of an Era was and that history and that whole thing that we built. So I think that if we do, or when we do move on creatively, it's going to be as something else. That's what I would say.
That is a very good answer.
That's
When
my.
did you become so eloquent?
I don't know, but that's truly how I feel. I think when we do decide to move on and release new music, it's going to be as something else.
Interesting. Good stuff.
So cryptic.
I think. I guess.
Yeah, and it's like that. It's got like that E-Town concrete feel. It's like, oh, they do other things, but they'll come back once a year at Starland and do that shtick.
End of an Era never has to die. You know what I'm saying? Like we needed to put it down. Creatively, we're not in that headspace right now. But it's still like every time we get back together, it's fun. But I also right now, the way that I feel in this moment in time, this is the way, if I had to leave it somewhere, this show's going to be it because of the crew that's getting together. I mean, it's not easy to do. The other two guys, a couple of the guys that are playing with us have wives and kids and serious lives. You know, I'm not quite there yet. He's not quite there yet, but but it's hard to do.
I thought
you know?
he was asexual.
So I would love to. I feel right now like this is going to be a great place to leave that, and then see what else we can do.
Good stuff. Wow. I think we'll end it on that note. That was
Nice.
beautiful.
I'm so happy.
There's like a tear in my eye welling up.
Really cool. Hey, guys, of course, follow End of an Era. We got www.endofanera.band.com. Follow them on Twitter at End of an Era Music. We got endofanera.bandcamp.com. Of course, I want to thank End of an Era. I want to thank Trevor for putting this all together, the
thank you for
podcast.
having us,
I'm glad you guys came out right now. So,
Finally.
And, all the information for Saturday again, right? Where do they get
So
tickets?
in the event
doors?
that
Yes.
everybody wants to come see
That's
all
right.
of us in this room,
It's
in
gonna
the
be
same
great.
place,
All of
at
us.
the same
Just
time,
like old times.
Yep.
just like old times.
And-
So it's us, End of an Era, Vection, Blacktooth Grin, and DJ Varlin, as you mentioned. October 27th, which is this Saturday at EJ's Tap House in Seaside Heights. Doors are at 7 p.m. You can get tickets online on Eventbrite. The link escapes me at the moment, but it's / a bunch of shit. And
Search End of an Era.
yeah,
But if you go on Facebook, you can go there too,
Yeah.
and it's
You can click
Yeah.
on the button and buy the ticket.
buy the tickets right. And what's the event called on Facebook if people want to go in the search
it's
bar?
End of an Era's Halloween family reunion.
Yes.
And then
is
that's the
event
link
on
right there.
Eventbrite. Yeah, so check it out. Come say hi.
It's going to be awesome. And Trevor, thanks again for putting this all together. Follow, of course, Podcast Dummies Network. They're on Twitter. You guys got a YouTube. You're on iTunes. Give them a 5-star rating. Give me a 5-star rating on the Bob Culture Podcast.
Are you on Zanga still as well?
I'm still on
Live
Zanga, the
journal.
live journal.
Live
You
journal.
can basically at Podcast Dummies on all social media platforms, like you said, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram is our big ones. Make sure you check out the replays of this show. This one hopefully will be up soon on iTunes and YouTube for the Bob Culture Podcast. Also, check out some of our other shows that are on here. Real Critics, they're going to have a new episode next Monday here at 7 p.m. Big Kev's Geek Stuff will also have a replay happening next Monday. One of them is going to be at 7. The other one's going to be followed up at 8 as well. And we're hosting the Twitch Crew Community on Wednesday night. 8:30 is their podcast. And every Tuesday you can get the Podcast Dummies, which is my show. And also It's Eric Nagel on iTunes.
Awesome. Can I throw one more shameless plug since we're all about the shameless? And feel free, guys. We're about the shameless plugs. Thursday, we got the WWE Evolution all-female pay-per-view this Sunday. So I have a bunch of female panelists, female wrestling podcasters joining me. Nice. It's going to be pretty cool. So I'm stoked for that one. We
Sounds a lot better looking than this one.
Oh, stop, please.
I look great as a woman.
Yeah, that's true. Which will now, again, be replayed Monday at 9 p.m. I forgot something.
Wow.
So.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. Always a pleasure. Trevor, thanks for putting this all together. Guys, we're out. I'm about to drop the mic. All right, guys.
Boom.
Hey guys, thanks for checking out this episode of the Bob Culture Podcast. Don't forget to support the show on patreon.com/Bob Culture Podcast for some great incentives. I'd like to give a shout out to my patrons Jay Crow, Shannon Cruz, and of course Mike and Michelle Vermillion from Sledgepad Innovations. Sledgepad is the bass drum dampening system used by national acts like Pink, Goo Goo Dolls, Cher, Collective Soul, and a whole bunch more. Check them out at sledgepad.com. And of course, if you're a fan of the show, please subscribe on YouTube, check us out at podbean.com, and leave me a review at iTunes.